Hi, my name is Sarah Francetich. I am the Library Media Specialist at Simle Middle School in Bismarck, and I am going to be presenting to you a parent's guide to setting technology boundaries. If you want to view my slides, here is the link. You can also scan the QR code to view the slides. They will be available on the event website, so you can view the slides later, or you can rewatch this presentation as well. So let's get started. Why set technology boundaries? Technology for this presentation is going to refer to cell phones, to video games, to TV, to any of those electronic devices that students are using. So why do we need to have boundaries for our kids when they are using this technology? Sean Grover, a licensed clinical social worker, says this: technology can be highly addictive, particularly for children and teens. In therapy sessions with me, many of them admit that they want to put their screen down, but they just can't, thereby forcing parents to become the dictators of screen time. Kids crave structure, consistency, and leadership from parents. So rather than go to war over screen time, I recommend establishing a family culture around technology by sitting down and creating a family screen time contract. So that is really what we're going to be discussing, is how can you create, I'm going to be calling it a family media contract with your kids as a family, so that they have that structure and consistency and leadership from you, so that they can be successful and feel good about the technology that they're using, and instead of being overwhelmed by it and addicted to it. So what makes a good family media contract? These 4 criteria are from Panda Security, and we're going to be looking at one of their examples in a little bit, but make sure that you have these 4 elements in a contract when you create one as a family. Make sure that your contract talks about time limits, so when it can and can't be used, even where it can and can't be used. Appropriate content, so what is appropriate to share and view and post. Rules about sharing. We're going to look at personal, public, and private information, sharing location, and then the other just good digital literacy skills that students need to be practicing when they are online and sharing. And then consequences. Make sure that you consider what consequences are going to work for each type of infraction in the media contract, as well as each child in your family. So let's take a look at time limits first. Mayo Clinic recommends the following screen time guidelines for kids 5 and older. Make sure you're prioritizing unplugged, unstructured playtime. So get your kids off of their media, off of their phones, off of the video games. Have them play outside, play a board game, just be kids. So make sure that you're prioritizing that in your family. Create tech-free zones or times. So maybe every mealtime in your house, tech is not allowed, or maybe one night a week, it's family night and there is no tech allowed. Set and enforce daily or weekly screen time limits and curfews. So how long can they be using the screen? Maybe it's a half hour every night. Maybe for your family, it's an hour every night. Maybe it's only when homework is done. Curfew, what time do they need to turn everything off? And eliminate screens 1 hour before bedtime. This will help them get to bed. That blue light has a lot of negative effects on kids and melatonin production and being able to get a good night's sleep and REM cycle. So make sure they are shutting those screens off an hour before bedtime. Discourage the use of media entertainment during homework. So don't let them have their phone playing off to the side of where they're working, playing a video or scrolling through TikTok videos as they're doing their homework. They need to focus on their schoolwork. Consider using apps that control the length of time a child can use a device. So this will help you limit screen time, as well as, some of these do a lot of different things depending on the app. So some examples are Custodio, FamilySafe, OurPact, Freedom, Screen Time, and Bark. Now each of these work for iPhones or Android devices, and some of them have small fees, monthly fees, or yearly subscriptions. So take a look at each of them and find the one that's going to work best for your needs in your family. Require your kids to charge their devices outside of their bedrooms at night. This will prevent them from sneaking onto it in the middle of the night, answering texts that may come from other friends. So make sure that you're just taking that temptation away. Keep screens out of your child's bedroom. So TV screens, video game consoles, they should be outside of the bedroom. Limit your own screen time. So you want to be a good role model to your kids, making sure you are unplugging, interacting with your kids, not on your phone all of the time as well. And then eliminate background TV. If nobody's watching the TV, just turn it off so kids don't think that that's something that they need to have all of the time. So here are some things to think about when it comes to time limits when you're creating your family media contract. Now let's look at appropriate content. So you want to make sure that your kids are watching things that are appropriate. So how do you know if it's appropriate or not? Get involved in your child's interests. So what are they watching online? Talk to them about it. Watch it with them. My daughter's been talking about a YouTuber quite a bit, so I watched a couple of his videos and we talked about it, and I was super excited to find out that this guy just made silly videos, you know, and that's fine. Watch their favorite Netflix series with them. Play a video game with them. You know, this technology, of course, is a big part of their lives, so make sure that you are involved in what they are watching and you know what they are watching and if it's appropriate. So if you're not sure if a video game, an app, website, or a TV show is a good fit for your child, these sites are here to help you. So we're going to take a look at the eAIMS model. We're going to look at Common Sense Media and Protect Young Eyes. So let me just exit out of here. So the eAIMS model is posted on 0 to 3 website, and I'm just going to zoom in on this, but this is a great tool that will help you know if your child is using an app that is appropriate for them. And this is for kids ages 2 to 6. So it asks you, are they engaged with it? Are they having a learning experience? If not, then it's probably not a good app for them. If yes, here's where you go. So you just kind of follow this flow chart. Is your kid actually involved, or are they just kind of passively watching? Are they on autopilot? Is the content meaningful? Does it help them, you know, interact with things that they would be interacting with daily? So you just kind of follow this flow chart, and if you can say yes to everything, you probably found a great high quality app for your child. If you hit no, then you probably want to reevaluate what your child is watching on that iPad or on your phone and see if you can find some better content. The next thing we're going to take a look at is Common Sense Media. This website has a ton of information. It's also used in Bismarck Public Schools to teach digital literacy lessons in grades K through 12. But they do have a great parent site. It has reviews for movies and TV, books, apps, and games. So if you're not sure if your kid should be playing that video game or playing that app, or, you know, is this book, you know, reviewed for my child's age, you know, movies and TV, you can really get everything, you know, learn about anything here. So I'm going to go to the apps, and you can go to their app reviews. You can go to the best app list. You can even search for them. But when you get to one, you're going to click on it, and then you're going to see kind of the overall star rating. But if I scroll down, here's what I like. So it tells you in all of these categories how they've rated it. So what's the educational value? Does it have diverse representations, ease of play, violence and scariness, sexy stuff, language, consumerism, drinking, drugs, and smoking? And there's different categories depending on the media. Books have different categories than movies, but it does give you a nice overview of what content is in the app or the movie or the video game. And when you click on it, let's say that, you know, why does it have a 1 for consumerism? It's going to tell you why. Or maybe it got you know, 4 out of 5 on sexy stuff. Well, why is that? So you can learn more about why the company gave it that rating. So these have a lot of great unbiased reviews. You do only get 3 free reviews a month Otherwise, there is a small monthly fee, or you can pay for a yearly subscription, but they really do have some high quality, unbiased reviews. Another website that has reviews for social media, gaming, photo and video apps is Protect Young Eyes. And if you scroll down, you're going to see a lot of different apps. And again, you can click on it and it's going to give you some information. So let's say your kid is talking about wanting, amino. So I'm going to click on this and I can find out what is it. It gives me a description. Here is the rating for the age and why it gave it this rating. What do you need to know? What does it talk about? Is it have pornography, inappropriate content? And then as you scroll down, it gives you a lot more information. So is it safe? What is their age recommendation? And so on. So this is just another tool for you to help you understand what your kids are downloading before they download it, so you can have good conversations with them. So now that we've looked at appropriate content, let's take a look at rules about sharing. So make sure your child knows the difference between personal or public information and private information. So personal or public information is what it sounds like. This is the information that is okay to share online. So is it okay for them to share their first name? Is it okay to share that they like to play football? That might be okay, but is it okay to share their first and last name, or their birth date, or their travel team, and that they're going to be in Fargo this weekend? So really make sure that you talk about what is safe to share and what is not safe to share online. Check your computer browser security settings, and that will help you know what your computer is sharing when your kids are online, and this would be on your PC. So I am using Chrome, and if I click on my three dots right here and I go to settings, you will see that I have the privacy and security settings right here. So I can go through that and see what my settings for Chrome are on my computer. So you can do that on your home computer. Each different browser has its own security settings, so make sure you check those out. And then the other thing that we want to be looking at are the privacy and location settings on all apps. So anytime your child downloads a new app, make sure you go through those privacy and location settings with them. Location settings should be off at all times. And then the privacy settings, what are they sharing, who can see what they are sharing? Make sure you're going through that and having your kid double check those settings. Make sure your child is only friending people they know on social media. A lot of kids think they know a friend of a friend. So just because that friend talks about them, but do they really know that person? Does the friend even really know that person? So privacy settings aren't going to matter if they're sharing all of this content with people that they do not know online, they only know of them offline. So talk to your kids about who they are friending and if they know them, how they know them, and keep having that conversation with them so that they're always aware of, and it's not a contest of how many friends you have if you don't know any of them. So make sure you're talking to them about that, especially on their social media apps. Consequences. So be ready. Your child will probably not follow the family media contract at some point, but don't freak out. Know it's going to happen. Just like all things, our kids mess up from time to time. So take the time to discuss what happened with them, reinforce why the family media contract was created, and then if a consequence is necessary, keep these guidelines in mind. So involve your kid in selecting the consequences. So as you create your family media contract, make sure they are aware of what the consequences are, because they are going to help create them. And if your kids are anything like mine, they usually choose consequences that are way harsher than I would choose for them. So you can, help them back it up just a little bit. Review the consequences regularly to see if adjustments need to be made. Maybe, this is happening a lot more frequently than you would like. Maybe the consequence needs to be a little harsher, or maybe, this just isn't an issue. We don't need that consequence, or this consequence isn't working. So ensure the consequences are not too harsh and that you will be able to follow through with them. If one of your consequences is that they lose their phone for a month, that might not be very convenient for you, let alone your child. So make sure that it is doable. The same consequence may not fit each infraction. So if your child, sneaks their phone into their bedroom at night, it might have this consequence, but if they share an inappropriate picture online, that might be a whole different consequence. So make sure you're talking about each aspect of your family media contract and setting consequences for each of those aspects. And then you might need to create different consequences for each child, and those consequences might need to change as your child gets older too. So one consequence for one child might not work for the other. So now that we've looked at all of the aspects of a family media contract, let's look at some examples. So we're going to look at an example from Common Sense Media, from Panda Security, and the third one is actually a letter that a journalist wrote to her child and then published this letter. Just understand that these are starting points for your family. You don't have to use these. You don't have to follow them to the letter. There are a lot of other family media contracts that you can find online, so just know that they're there to be customized so that they really work for your family. So the Common Sense Media contract looks like this, and they call it a family media agreement. And so it addresses how they are going to take care of their phone, and if they break it or lose it, what's going to happen, what they're going to do to stay safe. So this is going to be that private information, what they can and can't share, and then, appropriate content. Again, thinking first before they post and what they do and what they share, and staying balanced. So that's that media balance, taking time to unplug, communicating openly, talking about what's going on with your parents, and then what the family's responsibility is. And then here you can sign it. Now you can check which ones work for your family. You can add your own. So this one is really customizable. The next one we're going to look at is from Panda Security, and they actually have several contracts on their site. They have ones just for social media, just for video games. This is their general family media contract, so it is very general. So here are the time limits. You can check which ones work, fill them in, or create your own. It talks about appropriate content and sharing, safety, and then consequences. So again, this one is a lot more generic and a lot more customizable. And then the journalist who wrote the letter to her 13-year-old, this one has some humor in it, so it might be more for you to read than for you to use as a contract, but it does have a lot of great ideas of this is what's going to happen, or this is what we're going to add to our contract. So this one, if it falls in the toilet, smashes on the ground, hey, you're going to have to mow a lawn, babysit, or do something to, help repair it. Don't use your technology to lie, fool, or deceive somebody else. Don't say anything to someone that you would not say aloud. No porn, turn it off, silent it, put it away in public. Don't send and receive pictures. And then I love at the end, she says, you will mess up. And we talked about that. And she might take away your phone. We will sit down and talk about it. We will start over again. So this one is, there's a little bit of humor in here. It goes over a lot of different aspects of the family media contract. But I don't like that she just wrote it and presented it to her son. So again, it's really important that you discuss the contract as a family and get your kids involved in coming up with the guidelines as well as those consequences. So we've looked at the different parts of a media contract as well as some examples. So how can you ensure that your family media contract works? Do not create a contract for your family, create it with your family. So don't just present it to your kids, make sure that they have buy-in and that they're involved in creating it. What works for one family may not work for your family. So if your neighbors are talking about what they're doing and that just is not working for your family, that's fine. Every family is different. Every kid is different. Be ready and willing to listen to your kids when they have concerns, when they really feel like they should have, some more leeway with something. Be ready to listen, and you might agree with them and you might disagree with them, and that's fine. Make sure you are modeling the behavior you wish to see from your kids. So if you have a rule that there's no phone at the dinner table, then that means you too. Be willing to make changes to the contract, especially as your kids get older. understands that exceptions might need to be made. So acknowledge why an exception is being made and why it will not become the norm. So for example, maybe you have a rule that while you're in town, no phones in the car so that you guys can have some conversation, but maybe you need your kid to look up something for you, just help them understand that this is an exception to the contract. Follow through on consequences. The contract's not going to work if you're not ready to enforce it. And then don't forget to discuss and create incentives when your kids are following the contract. So if they're just, doing everything that you ask and they've been doing it for a week or two, reward them. So I hope that you now have some tips and tricks to making sure that you can set some successful technology boundaries in your home with your kids. So if you have any questions or comments, again, my name is Sarah Francetich, the Library Media Specialist at Simle Middle School, and there is my email. Michael Jacobson, who is overseeing this event, is the Learning Design Innovator for Bismarck Public Schools, and that is his email. So thank you again for joining me, and I hope that you can take away what you've learned and create a family media contract for your family. Thanks again for watching.